Participants, now our resource person, Dr. Vishwesh Vyavagre, will start the afternoon session. Over to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. I hope all the participants had a lunch, a good lunch, and you are ready for the post-lunch session. So now I will directly share my screen and other parts of today's webinar. Okay. So moderators, please let me know if my screen is visible. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so now we are going to take a very quick review of the linear algebra and differential and integral calculus, and at the same time we are also going to see something called as differential equations also, and Simulink. Okay, so now as I said in my pre-lunch session, that the true power of MATLAB lies in the way it handles matrices and arrays. Okay, and the numerical stability that MATLAB offers to the user. Okay, so now we are going to quickly see the linear algebra applications. So let's start with the rank. Okay, what is rank? What do you understand by, as far as the matrix is concerned, what do you understand by rank? Rank means it is the number of linearly independent rows and columns of a matrix. Okay, this is what we know by rank. If a matrix is full rank, then it is invertible. If a matrix is not full rank, then it is not invertible. Let us see how MATLAB calculates the rank of different matrices. Okay, so I will define again. A is equal to rand 3. We will generally work with 3 cross 3 matrices because they are easy to display and easy to manipulate and handle from a user point of view, not from the MATLAB point of view. So the simple command is rank A. Okay, now you see that the rank of this A matrix is 3. What does it mean? It means that all these 3 rows and these 3 columns, 1, 2 and 3, they are linearly independent. What is meant by linearly independent? One of them cannot be expressed as a linear combination of other two. Any one of the row, any one of the columns cannot be expressed as a linear combination of other 2 rows or columns. That is known as rank of a matrix. Now let's take a very common example. Let's say I define A is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Seven, 8, 9. This is a simple matrix. This is my matrix A. Now, what will be the rank of this matrix? Let's check. Rank of A. Rank of A is coming out as 2. This is a rank. It means that all the 3 rows are not linearly independent. That is middle row plus bottom row divided by 2. So 4 is equal to 1 plus 7 by 2. 5 is equal to 2 plus 8 by 2, and same with the third thing. Okay, so this is not a full rank matrix, and this is a rank deficient matrix. So how easy it is to calculate the rank of a matrix. Okay, next we see the rank of non-square matrices. Okay, so this is a matrix. This is a matrix A, which has got 4 rows and 3 columns. It's a 4 cross 3. Now I will find rank A3. Okay, this is 2. So what does it mean? There is maximum 2 cross 2 matrix here. Okay, which is which has got a full rank. Okay, for example, if you take any 3 cross 3 matrix here that has got a rank less than 3, only 2 cross 2 matrices are there. You take any 2 cross 2 matrix. Let's say take this 7, 8, 10, 11. Okay, this one. So you see it's a full rank matrix and its rank is 2. Okay. Now how do you compute the determinant of a square matrix? Very simple. So the command is help det. This is the command which is used to calculate the determinant of a matrix. Okay, of a square matrix. Very simple. I remember again my college days when we have to write a code in C to calculate the determinant of a simple 2 cross 2 or 3 cross 3 matrix, and we were instructed to write a general code, not specific. So if you enter any 3 cross 3 matrix in that, and it will give you the answer. It was very difficult. Now it becomes very easy with MATLAB that with a simple command det we are able to calculate the determinant of a matrix. So again I define rand A is equal to rand 4, let's say, because 3 cross 3 it's easy. Now you have a 4 cross 4 random matrix, okay, and I want to determine its determinant. So dta, this is the answer. Determinant is non-zero. What is the meaning of this? When the determinant of a matrix is non-zero, it means that the matrix is invertible. Okay, right. Now let's take our earlier example. Let's take our earlier example 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so this is my A. Okay, and now we found out that it was rank deficient. Its rank was 2. Okay, what will be the determinant of A in this case? Now, ideally, if you calculate, ideally means if you really calculate the determinant of this matrix, it comes out to be equal to 0. Okay, but what MATLAB will do? MATLAB will not give the 0 answer. What MATLAB will do is, if there is any matrix which has got determinant 0, which is not invertible, in linear algebra terminology it is known as singular matrix. Okay, so if MATLAB finds that any matrix is singular, okay, it will condition that matrix. It will add some small, very small numbers to its elements and make it non-singular. Okay, and it will give the answer for this. So this should come exactly equal to 0. It is not coming exactly equal to 0. It is 6.66 into 10 to the power minus 16. This is how we get the answer. Okay. Next is the condition number. What is the condition number? Let us check the condition number. Let's check the command help cond. Okay. Condition number with respect to inversion. So condition X returns 2 norm condition number. Okay, and MATLAB has also given the definition. The ratio of the largest singular value of X to the smallest singular value. Okay, and then it gives one message or one sentence that large condition numbers indicate a nearly singular matrix. In the pre-lunch session, we have seen one such matrix, that is Hilbert matrix. Hilbert's matrix. Okay, it has got a very large condition number. So can we calculate the condition number of all such matrices, and let's check if they are really very large? Let's do it. Okay. So again my A, this is my A, and I will write CONDA. CONDA. You see the condition number that is coming out. Please check this. It is 1.2011 into 10 to the power 17. 1.2011 into 10 to the power 17. Such a large condition number means that this matrix is almost singular. It is singular. It is not invertible. Let's now test it for our Hilbert's matrix. Okay. So let me define A is equal to HILB 3. So this is a 3 cross 3 Hilbert matrix. Okay, you remember this. Now let me find out the condition number of A. Okay, and you see it's fairly large. It's 524. If you want to see a comparative study, let us define another matrix B, which is RAND 3. Okay, and let's try to find out the condition number of B. You see the condition number of this 3 cross 3 matrix, which is coming out as 4.3249, and this matrix, which is also a 3 cross 3 Hilbert's matrix. Okay, and the condition number is this. Okay, so these things are very easy when you actually do it. So if you use MATLAB while teaching, if you use MATLAB while learning, in both the cases it aids to a great context, okay, to a greater extent, and it helps us in understanding the values. Because when we just teach to our students or when we are learning something, okay, it becomes very difficult. We need examples, we need to calculate. So MATLAB can help you in this teaching learning process. Okay. Next, see the inverse, very famous. Help INV. INV is the inverse of a square matrix. Okay, and point is, a warning message is printed if X is badly scaled or nearly singular. Okay, so if your X is badly scaled or if your X is singular, it will give a warning message. Okay, so let's check our A. Fine. No, not this A. A is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, this is A. And we know that it is not full rank matrix. At the same time, its condition number is very large. Okay, its determinant is almost equal to 0. So it is confirmed that this 3 cross 3 matrix is a singular matrix and it is not invertible. So let me try to find out INVA. Okay, the moment we write as INVA, we find that, as I said, or as the help has told us, if the matrix is badly scaled or close to singular, MATLAB will give a warning. So it has given a warning. Matrix is close to singular or badly scaled, results may be inaccurate. And it has done some conditioning. What conditioning it has done? Okay, it has added to each number this particular number and it has made it non-singular or very close to singular. Very close to singular. Okay, it's very important. Now, look at this. Okay, I am going to come to this later. And why we should not use this particular inverse in the calculation. Okay, let us try to understand this. Okay, so let's say I define A which is equal to RAND 3 and I define A INV as a new variable which is nothing but inverse of A. So A is a random matrix, 3 cross 3 matrix. Okay, I have calculated its inverse and I store it in a variable A INV. Okay, this is also a 3 cross 3 matrix. This is the inverse of A. Now what is A into A inverse? It should be an identity matrix, right? A into A inverse is an identity matrix. So let's try this. A star into A INV. Okay, and what answer we get? We really indeed get a 1 0 0 0 1 0 and 0 0 1. Okay, so the inverse calculated by MATLAB is correct and A into A inverse is giving me a I3, that is 3 cross 3 identity matrix. Okay, now with this example in our mind, let's have a look at that 1 2 3 4 5 6, that notorious matrix, I would say. Okay, this is A, right? Again, I will store I will store its inverse in a variable a_inv. Okay, it has given me a answer that matrix is badly scaled. Think the results may be inaccurate. So I have got a inverse. So I have got, actually from mathematics point of view, the inverse does not exist. But MATLAB has done some conditioning and it has found out the inverse. Okay, now we want to check, and MATLAB gives a very important statement or message that results may be inaccurate. Okay, so what I am going to do now, this is my A, this is my A in INV, and I am going to do A star into A INV. What I should get? A into A inverse, I should get an identity matrix, right? You see the answer that we are getting. The answer is not an identity matrix. It is something different. Okay, so please remember this very important thing, that if the matrix is singular, then do not use the inverse calculated by MATLAB in further calculations. Okay, right. Okay, let's move to the next thing. Let's see how, I mean, you will appreciate if I define a very large matrix and I find its inverse. C is equal to, this is a 10 cross 10 matrix. Okay, I want to find its inverse. INVC, simple command, and this is the answer. So you have got the inverse of a 10 cross 10 matrix, which is very, I mean, in a fraction of a second, basically. Okay. Now, solution of a system of linear equations using MATLAB. The most important thing, solution of a system of linear equations using MATLAB. Okay. So there are some symbols that we are going to use. Okay, these are the symbols that we are going to use. N stands for number of unknowns or variables and M stands for number of equations. AX is equal to B. Basically, we are going to solve AX is equal to B. This we are going to solve using MATLAB. And this is the very fundamental question, because all the numerical methods, majority of them ultimately boil down to this AX equal to B. Okay. The simplest example that I can give you is, if 5 mangoes and 7 apples cost 100 rupees and 8 mangoes and 19 apples cost say 200 rupees, what is the cost of 1 apple and what is the cost of 1 mango? Okay, so here we write down something, A11x plus A12y is equal to C1, then A21x plus A22y is equal to C2, and then we try to solve this. Okay, this is a system of linear equations, system of simultaneous equations. Okay, and we want to solve this. AX is equal to B. Okay, right. Now there are a lot of solvers available, but I will stick to only one thing, which is nothing but this: help lin solve. Help lin solve is the command which linsolve is the command which is used to solve a system of linear equations in MATLAB. So we will see what this command, what is the help related to this command. Okay, yes. No need to read the complete thing. Okay, now look at this. How do we generally solve this AX equal to B, assuming that A is invertible? Assuming that A is invertible, okay, what do we do? X is equal to B into A inverse, right? We post multiply by A inverse. Then on the left hand side, it will become A into A inverse, that is identity. On the right hand side, it will be X equal to B into A inverse, and then we find out. But here we should note that if we use this command, basically there is an inversion operation involved in between, and calculating inverse, especially when the matrix is very large, is computationally very expensive. calculating the inverse is computationally and memory point of view is very expensive. People have written algorithms on that, how to find the inverse of a large matrix, how to find the inverse of a sparse matrix, and all those things. You will find numerous papers available in linear algebra journals and other numerical method journals which have been dedicated to finding the inverse. Okay, so finding inverse is a very costly thing from both memory and the computation point of view. Okay, so what MATLAB is doing is to solve these linear equations. If we use this linsolve command, okay, MATLAB solve this using LU factorization. Okay, with partial pivoting when A is square and QR factorization with column pivoting otherwise. Okay, so MATLAB uses LU and QR decomposition or factorization to calculate or to solve this particular system of linear equations. Okay, I hope it's clear. So let's move ahead. Let's try to find out. First of all, we will try to solve using for the homogeneous, non-homogeneous systems. Non-homogeneous systems means AX equal to B and A is square and invertible. We will take only one example because we have to see a lot of things. Okay. So AX equal to B and A is square. So let's try to see how this works out. Okay. So this is A and this is B. This is A, this is B. Okay. Now you want to solve it, right? First of all, we need to check whether there is a unique solution existing or not. And for that, the condition is that existence and uniqueness of solution. So we find out an augmented matrix, which when we augment A and B, if we find rank of A, we find rank of B, AB, this augmented matrix. And if the ranks of A and B are equal, okay, and the solution exists, then the solution exists. Okay, right. And if the rank of A is equal to n, which is the number of equations, okay, then we say that there is a unique solution. Okay. Let me do it one by one. Fine. So we have got A, we have got B. Now I will write down AB, which is an augmented matrix. You augment the last column of A as B. Okay, B is augmented as the last column of A. Okay, so you get this. Now, this is A, this is AB. Hope you are with me. Okay, now let us try to find out rank of A. What is rank of A? 3. What is rank of AB? This is also 3. So rank of A and rank of AB are equal and therefore the solution exists. And since the rank of A is equal to n, which is number of equations, that is 3, there is a unique solution. Now how do we solve it? The solution is very simple. So we use this command linsolve A comma B. Okay. So this is my A, this is my B. Okay. And I write X is equal to linsolve A comma B. X is equal to linsolve A comma B. You get the answer. Okay. Whether this answer is correct or not, how do I check it? How do we check whether this answer is correct or not? This is what MATLAB solution has given the solution. Okay, right. Now let me simply do as A star X, and this is my B. A into X should come out to be equal to B. So A into X is giving me 7 minus 13, 18, which is same as my B, and therefore we have got this solution. Okay, and this is correct. Now let's move ahead. We will not see about the other conditions because we have to run quickly. Fine. Okay. Non-homogeneous. Let's directly go to the eigenvalues. Okay. eigenvalues. So the command is help EIG. EIG stands for eigenvalues and eigenvectors of A. Okay, so very interesting. Eigenvalues are those values which are required, which are the solutions of the equation lambda I minus A, or A minus lambda I. Determinant of A minus lambda I is equal to 0. Okay, right. So let's try to find out the eigenvalues rand of rand 3, and I store this as A. Okay, right. And if I write EIGA, it will directly give me the eigenvalues. It directly gives me the eigenvalues of matrix A. If I write here as lambda, okay, it also gives me eigenvalues as well as eigenvectors. Okay, this is the command. This is A, and I write the command x comma lambda is equal to EIGA. So there are two output variables. Okay, so x comma lambda that equal to EIGA is going to give me both eigenvalues as well as the corresponding eigenvector. Now this is very important. MATLAB is giving me directly the calculation of eigenvector. Okay, so you have got this x, okay, and you have got lambda. Fine, it calculates these are the eigenvectors, and corresponding to this eigenvector you have this eigenvalue. Okay, right. Next, let me show you just one decomposition which is available here. Okay, let's take the QR decomposition. Okay, because we can go into eigenvalues and eigenvectors, then trace, we can have product of eigenvalues, characteristic polynomial. Okay, LU decomposition, simple one. So let us have a look at this. The matrix is divided into a lower triangular matrix and a upper triangular matrix. Okay, right. So any matrix A, okay, this matrix A for which we want to get the lower triangular matrix and upper triangular matrix. So this is how we get it. So what is the command for this? LU. So I'm writing down help LU. Help LU. Okay, LU factorization. This is how you write the command LU. Okay, which is equal to LU of A. Very simple command. Okay, so let us do this. So A is already defined. Oh no, it's not defined. Okay, so A is equal to rand 3 and L comma U is equal to LU of A. So it has given me a lower triangular matrix, it has given me an upper triangular matrix, and this is the LU decomposition of your matrix A. Okay, I will quickly move ahead. Then you have QR decomposition. Okay, so let's take a very simple example of QR decomposition. Okay, so A is equal to 4363, QR is equal to QRA. So you get the A and you get Q and you R. This is your QR decomposition of the matrix A. Okay, singular values and all those things. So I'll not go into these details. Okay, so can we have a quick question answer session regarding the questions related to linear algebra? Then we can move ahead.
Yes, sir. But the
or we will
participants.
have at the end of the session. We will have at the end of the session.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
We will
thank
have
you.
at the end. We will have at the end. Sir.
Okay. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, then let me move ahead. Let's go ahead with the differential and integral calculus. I am going to show you very a couple of examples. Okay, right. So before that, we need to understand something related to MATLAB symbolic toolbox. Okay. So there is something called as help sims. Help sims means now, up till now, we have used all the variables as numerical variables, numeric variables. Now I want MATLAB to use symbolic variables. So when I write X, I need not store any value into that. Okay, X can be used as a symbol. That is known as symbolic variable. This can be used in MATLAB using this command sims. Okay, because we want to calculate derivatives and integrals. Okay, so we have to use this. So now let us have a look at this important set of commands. MATLAB allows you to create symbolic math expressions. Okay, so sims abcx. If you write this sims abcx, okay, this command tells MATLAB to define symbolic variables a, b, c, and x. Okay, so you did not store any value into this. Okay, before this, let me show you something. Okay, now there is no variable created. If I just write x, it will say undefined function or variable x. So x does not contain any value. X is not defined. So MATLAB has prompted an error message saying that it is undefined function or variable. Okay. Now, what we are going to do, we are going to define this a, b, c, and x as symbolic variables, and then I am going to define a function f, which is ax square plus bx plus c, simple quadratic equation. Okay. Yes. Now you see what has happened. F is equal to ax square plus bx plus c. So we have got here a symbolic expression created. F is also a symbolic variable. If you look into the workspace here, you will find that this a, b, c, f, and x are all now have got a special attribute called sim, sym, sim. Okay, so they are defined as symbolic variable. Why do we need it? Because now we want MATLAB to calculate the derivatives and integrals symbolically, analytically. So I want that if I ask MATLAB to find out the derivative of x square, d by dx of x square, MATLAB should give me an answer as 2x, basically. Okay. Now, I can substitute a variable with a value. So what I am writing here, substitute f x 5. So it tells MATLAB that in the above expression f, for variable x, you put 5 to get the answer. So 5 square is 25a plus 5b plus c. So this is how the symbolic toolbox is used in MATLAB. Now let's directly go to the limits. Okay, the command is limit. Help limit. Okay, limit of an expression. It calculates the limit of an expression. Okay. Now let us take simple example. Look at these 3 lines that I have put up on the command prompt. The first line tells me that I am defining a symbolic variable, which is x. Next, I am defining a function sin of x by x. And the third line tells that I want to evaluate the limit of this f as x goes to 0. So basically this is the problem of limit x tends to 0 sine of x by x, and we know the answer. The answer is going to be 1. Okay, and it gives the answer this L is equal to 1. We have got the answer for this. So it's very easy. Now you will appreciate when I will show you the limits of some complicated functions. Okay, let's take this function. Limit x tends to infinity, x into 1 plus a by x to the power x sine b by x. Let me check if I have. Yeah, I have this. Okay. Let us see if MATLAB evaluates this, because not evaluated this for a long time, but let's check this. So we want to evaluate this limit x tends to infinity, x into 1 plus a by x to the power x into sine b by x. I'm not, because if the expression is too complicated, MATLAB may not be able to evaluate it. Remember, MATLAB's strong point is its computational ability. Okay. Yeah, it has evaluated. In fact, it has evaluated and it has given me answer as b into e to the power a. So, what does it mean? If this is evaluated, if this limit is evaluated as x tends to infinity, the answer is b into e to the power a. b into e to the power a. And MATLAB has given me this answer. Okay. I hope to understand this. It also calculates left limit and right limit and all those things. Let's go to derivatives. Command is diff. Help diff. It calculates the derivative of a function. Okay, how does it calculate? Let us see. Okay, so look at the 3 lines that I have written. Since x, defining x as a symbolic variable, f is equal to x to the power 4, f of x is equal to x to the power 4 basically, and f1 is nothing but its first derivative. MATLAB should give me an answer as 4 into x to the power 3, and MATLAB has given me answer here. You can check this answer as 4 into x to the power 3. So MATLAB helps me in calculating the derivative. Let's see if we can take some complicated. Yes, there is one complicated example here which we can try. Okay, let me copy that here and I will show you. Okay. Okay. This is the function. Which is this function? This is the function. F of x is equal to sin x upon x square plus 4x plus 3. This is the function. Okay. F of x is equal to sin x upon x square plus 4x plus 3. And I want to calculate its 4th order derivative. Remember, I want its 4th order derivative. Now, we all have seen the pains of calculus and integration. 4th order derivative of this function is really, I mean, I can still feel the shiver. Okay, and I can still feel the goosebumps. You have to calculate the 4th order derivative. You have to apply the quotient rule. Derivative of numerator into derivative of denominator minus denominator into derivative of numerator divided by denominator square. That will give me the first derivative. This you have to do 4 times and that will give you a 4th order derivative. Okay, now, and this is the answer basically. This is what the answer is. The one which is shown below here. Okay, so I will use this command. It becomes very easy in MATLAB. This is my function. Okay, this is the command. f4 is equal to diff. So differentiate f with respect to x, and the order of the differentiation is 4. And this is the answer. Within a fraction of a second, MATLAB has calculated the answer for me. This is that big answer. I want to see it look good. The command is pretty f4. Command is pretty f4. So you have got this. Pretty. Looks very nice. Okay. So it may not look exactly like this, but okay. I mean, this is the same answer, and it has given us. Okay, fine. Next, we go to the partial derivatives. We will not take partial derivatives because it is same as this. Okay. Jacobian matrix also you can find. Jacobian matrix. Integration I would come to. Okay. So command is int, help int. Okay. So help int. So integration, it calculates the integration. Okay, and I think there are a lot of. Let's look at this. Okay, symbolic int. Okay. It will open that doc. It will take time. Maybe I can abort it. Let me check. Okay, let it open. So what you do basically is, okay, it's opening the doc command for this symbolic integration. It has opened. So you see, let me zoom in. Okay, so it calculates integration. Basically, we'll not go into much details of that. Let's try to directly evaluate a problem. Okay. Sims x, f is equal to square root of x, root x. I want to find the integration of root x. What will be the integration of, this is indefinite integral. What is the integration of root x? Integration of root x will be x to the power 1 by 2 plus 1 divided by 1 by 2 plus 1. So 2 by 3 into x to the power 3 by 2. Something like that it will be. So let's see what the answer is. Yeah. So this is the answer, 2 by 3 into x to the power 3 by 2. This is how we have got the integration calculated for this function. Okay, I hope it's very straightforward. So let's take other examples. Okay, let's take this example slightly complicated. Okay, so let me check. Yes. So the problem was f is equal to x cube into log h. Hello.
Sir?
Hello. Yeah.
Sir, could you share the screen, sir?
Okay. I'll share. I have shared it. The screen. Is it visible?
No, not visible, sir.
I'll stop sharing and again share the screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Now
sir.
it's
Yes,
visible?
okay.
Okay.
Visible, sir.
Fine. Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.
My apologies. My apologies
thank
for
you.
this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So let's try to do the integration. Okay. Sims ax f is equal to x cube into cos square ax. This is the integration that I want to calculate. This is the one. Is my PPT being visible? Is it visible, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is visible.
Okay. So I want to calculate the indefinite integral of f of x is equal to x cube into cos square ax. We need to apply the integration by parts. That formula needs to be applied here. Okay. Now see the same function. Since ax, f is equal to x cube into cos square ax. This is my function. And I want to find its integration. Okay. The command is very simple. The command is g is equal to int f comma x. G is equal to int of f comma x. So this is the integration of this x cube into cos square ax. I want to see a nice answer. Okay. So I will write pretty simplify g. This is the answer. So it shows in a nicer way. Although it's not that much looking good, but you have got the answer for your integration. Okay. Next we move ahead to functions which are not integrable. Definite integrals will not go. Okay. Multiple integrals we can see. Okay. So I have the so this is the multiple integral that we want to see. Okay. Now I want to evaluate this multiple integral. Okay. I hope it is visible. So 4xz into e to the power minus x square y minus z square dz dy dx, and each variable has got the limits. Okay. So we want to calculate the multiple integral. Is it possible to do in MATLAB? Answer is yes. It's very much possible. Okay. So I'll just do it here. So sims xyz, f is equal to this function. Now you see we have used the int command 3 times, 1, 2, 3 nested int commands kind of thing. Okay, in order to calculate 3 integrals. Okay, and the answer is this. You can see this Euler gamma function which is coming here. Okay, that is Euler-Mascheroni constant. Okay, it has appeared here in the solution. So MATLAB calculates it, the one for which it can do, it calculates it very correctly and gives you the very right answer for that. Okay, let's move ahead. The last section that I am going to take here is the Taylor series expansion. Okay, now before I go ahead with this Taylor series expansion, okay, let me show you what is this. So help Taylor. Taylor f is the by default fifth order Taylor polynomial approximation of f about the point x is equal to 0, and therefore it's also known as Maclaurin's series or Maclaurin's polynomial. Okay, so now with this, so MATLAB can directly help me in calculating the Taylor series expansion. What is the Taylor series expansion for e to the power x? The Taylor series expansion for e to the power x is 1 plus x square by 2 factorial plus x cubed by 3 factorial plus x4 by 4 factorial and all that. And Taylor series are famous for fast convergence. Okay, so let's see if MATLAB can help me in calculating the Taylor series. Okay. Okay, so you have f is equal to expx. Before that, you have defined symbolic variable, x as a symbolic variable. Okay, and g1 is equal to Taylor fx. It will give me the Taylor series expansion with default 5 terms. Okay, and you get these 5 terms. You can see here x to the power 5 upon 5 factorial, which is 120, x to the power 4 upon 24, x cubed by 6, x square by 2, x plus 1. So we have got a fifth order, that means 6th term Taylor series expansion. Okay, now you have a Taylor series expansion with 8 terms. Okay, this is what you have got, Taylor series expansion with 8 terms. Okay, you want to see it again, I will use Pretty G2. Pretty G2. Okay, this is your 8 means 7th order, 8 terms, that means 7th order, you can say x to the power 7. Okay, you can also have 12th order. Okay, so you have got 11th order Taylor series expansion, that means Taylor series expansion with 12 terms. Okay, now we are doing an interesting thing later now. Now we are going to plot the original function, which is e to the power x. Okay, this is my f, this is my g1, which is a 5th order, this is g2, 7th order, this is g3, this is 11th order. Okay, I want to see the effect of increasing number of Taylor series terms on its convergence. Okay, so I am going to plot all this. Now don't try to go into the details of this code. Basically it is going to plot e to the power x, it is going to plot g1x, it is going to plot g2x, and it is going to plot g3x. Okay, and let us see what is the result. It will take slightly some time because you have to plot it. Yeah, it's coming. Please see this. The blue one is e to the power x, which is not at all distinguishable from the 12th term, I think violet curve, then 5th term, and then 8th term. And you see near x is equal to 0, all of them perfectly coincide because this is a Taylor series expansion, and near x is equal to 0, all of them are coinciding. Okay, now the Taylor series expansion with 5th order term, it deviates. This is my original e to the power x. It deviates as x increases for 5th term, for 5 terms. Then for 8 terms it is closer to this. 12th term is almost indistinguishable from the original Taylor series. Okay, and this is how the Taylor series expansion you can study. And we have learned this, but no one has explained us in this way. Why Taylor series expansion depends on the number of terms. If you increase the number of terms, how does it become more convergent? Like that. Okay, so this is how we take care of the calculus and the Taylor series part of this basically. Okay, so I think it is almost 3:30. We can stop here and we can take 10 minutes break, and after that I will be going to some applications of the MATLAB. So I'm going to tell something about the systems theory, maybe some time, and then I will go to the electrical networks. Okay, and this is how we will move in the post, I will call it as the post T session.
Yes.
Is it okay,
Yes,
moderators and
Yes,
organizers?
sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
We will wait
So I
for
will
another
stop
10
my-
minutes, sir.
Yeah, I'll stop sharing my screen. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fine. So participants, this is 3:30 now. We will meet at 3:40. Is it okay, madam?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sure, sir. We will wait, sir. And with
Okay.
participants, we will
Okay.
rejoin
Okay.
with 3:40. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So I'll close my video and audio both. I'll remain in the meeting, but I'll close my video and audio.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Wikipedia page. So x dot equal to y and y dot equal to mu into 1 minus x square into y minus x. You see this? So x1 is my first variable. So dx1 is equal to x2 and dx2, okay, is equal to mu into 1 minus x square into y minus x. Okay. So this differential equation, this set of differential equation and this set of differential equations, they exactly match. Okay, now you want to solve this differential equation. Okay, you need one more file, which is the main file, where you will specify the initial conditions, you will specify the value of the variables, parameters, you will specify for how much time you want the solution to be evaluated. Then, since we are using numerical methods, we need to identify the tolerance, how much error is allowed. Okay, so let me tell you everything clearly. So this is my mu. I want mu to be 4. What is mu? Mu is this variable. This is mu variable. I want the solution to be evaluated from 0 to 20 seconds with a step of 0.1. Okay, and I want the absolute tolerance and the relative tolerance. Now these are the terms which are defined in the MATLAB command ODE set. Okay, so you say that why do we need this? We need this because we are not solving this solution differential equation analytically, we are solving it numerically. So after how much time or on what basis my numerical algorithm should stop? So is there any measure on the convergence? Is there some tolerance level that I can put up for the error between the actual output and or actual solution of the differential equation and the numerical solution of the differential equation? Okay, so we give 1 e to the power minus 4, that means 10 to the power minus 4, which is a fairly small, very small tolerance we are allowing. Okay, and the next thing that is very important that I want you all to have a look at is basically this. Okay, this is the ODE 45 command. Okay, so what is ODE 45? Let us have a look at this. Help, ODE 45. Okay, ODE 45 is a solving non-stiff differential equations medium order method. ODE 45. This is the command. No, this is a stiff, this is a non-stiff differential equation. What is the difference between stiff differential equation and non-stiff differential equation? Stiff differential equation is that differential equation for which a numerical method is difficult to converge. Okay, numerically they are difficult to solve. So ODE 45 is suitable for non-stiff differential equations. There are other ODE solvers available. ODE 23, ODE 113, ODE 15S. That S stands for stiff. ODE 15S, ODE 23S. Let's have a look at this one more. Help ODE 23S. Low order method. So ODE 23 or 25 that we saw was for a non-stiff differential equation. This is for a stiff differential equations. Okay, generally circuit theory equations where you have a switching action involved. Okay, there you have that discontinuity coming up, and those are the stiff differential equations. We will see that in simulating. Okay, right. So now let's go to our command. Okay, so I am telling MATLAB, take mu as this. This is the T-span, this is the tolerance, and these are the initial conditions. It's a second order differential equation, so I need two initial conditions, y of 0 and y dot of 0. That means value of y at t equal to 0 and value of derivative of y at t equal to 0. So both are 1 and minus 1. Okay, and then I tell MATLAB to solve this ODE. Which ODE? This set of ODEs I tell MATLAB to solve. Okay, because I have written this FUNC underscore van der Pol, this function name, and you can see here the name of this file is FUNC underscore van der Pol. Okay, you are passing some variables, some time, mu, x, and all that. Those variables are passing. We have to pass those variables. Okay, right. And with all these, this is the t-span, these are the initial conditions, these are the options, and this is the value of mu. Okay, and ultimately, I would like MATLAB to plot. What I want MATLAB to plot? First of all, I want MATLAB to plot y. X-axis there will be t, and on y-axis there will be y. And second, I want MATLAB to plot y1 or x1 and x2. That means y and y dot. Basically, y and y dot. What y dot means? dy by dt. So I want dy by dt. That is a phase plot, basically. Okay. So I hope everything is clear now. With this, we are ready. So this is our main file, the command, but the actual ODE is given in another function. Okay. So now let me evaluate this. Let me run this. Now you see I am running a M file editor executing this command. Okay. And I am expected to see two plots. I hope the plots are visible. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Visible.
The plot on the left hand side is, the plot on the left hand side is time on x-axis, y on y-axis. Okay. Is this correct? Let's check. Let's check. I have to see whether it's given here. Okay. No. Anyway, but you can see here it is given here, or I can go back and I can show you some images in the solution. So see this basically. Okay, look at this. Okay, so you can see these dotted ones. These dotted ones are nothing but your solution, and let us compare it with our MATLAB. Okay, you can see you get y and y dot both as a function of time, y and y dot, y and dy by dt as a function of this coming here. Okay, the blue one is y and the red one is y dot, because the initial condition here is 1 and the initial condition here is -1. And next is the phase plot. Okay, for this we can go to Wikipedia and we can see here the solution which is there, the phase plot. Okay, now look at this phase plot. Look at this phase plot here where my cursor is moving. Okay, and compare this with this. Okay, of course they might have taken different value of mu, but you can see y and y dot, y versus y dot, phase plot, phase plane. Okay, so this is how you solve a differential equation in MATLAB. Okay, I have given only one example, and I have deliberately you need to convert a second order differential equation into a set of first order differential equation. Okay, so the commands that we have used are here. Okay, so this is how you give the initial conditions and all that, and this is how you try to solve a ODE. Now the question may come to your mind Is this the only way of solving ODEs in MATLAB? The answer is no. You can also solve ODEs analytically. Okay, using that symbolic algebra toolbox, SIMS, there you can solve it. But the difference here and there is while there will be some differential equations for which you may not be able to get a closed form solution, especially the differential equations which are nonlinear. It is very difficult for them to get a closed form solution. Okay, right. There, for some linear equations, you can get closed form solution. But this numerical method is always preferred because here you don't get the closed form solution, but then you get the solution. Some qualitative features of the solution can be obtained using that symbolic toolbox, like phase plane and the tangents, phase field, and everything that can be done here. Okay. I hope this makes clear. I agree that there is only one example, but then I could have taken more examples, but we don't have time, and we have to go to the next thing also. But you can explore, as I said, it's very easy in MATLAB to learn something, and there is a huge help available online. You can go to just Google MATLAB ODE solver, like I have done here myself. ODE solver, let me show you. This is the ODE solver in MATLAB. You just Google it, ODE using MATLAB. So you get so many sites. MathWorks has their own website, and there are a lot of forums available, and you can discuss, and you can get a lot of the help is very easily available. Okay. Next, the last thing of this webinar is the use of Simulink. Okay, and that I am going to show you now. Okay, so let me close these figures. Let me change my working directory. Okay, now up till now we have seen two versions or two ways to use MATLAB. One was the command prompt, where you put a question, you ask MATLAB to do some computing, you get the answer. Second thing is where, am I audible? Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You're
Yes,
audible,
sir.
sir.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So one is just using the command prompt. Second one is the MATLAB codes or MATLAB editor, that also I have shown you while solving this van der Pol oscillator. Okay. Third one is you can directly simulate a system. Now it may be a physical system, it may be an electrical system, it may be an electronic system, it may be a fluid mechanics system, it may be a power system, anything. If you want to simulate, you can do it. And for that, you need something called as the Simulink library. I have already opened that Simulink library. Let me show you. I hope this Simulink library is visible to all. Okay. Now here on the left hand side, if you see, you have got different libraries available. Okay. For example, if I go to SimSkit, okay, and then I can show you that you can have different electrical circuit components available here. Okay, it's taking some time. So this is, yeah. So you can see here, so Sim Electronics. If I go into Sim Electronics, is it visible? Is my Simulink panel visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. So here you can see actuators and drivers, integrated circuits, passive devices, semiconductor devices, sensors, sources, additional components. So integrated circuits. What's there in integrated circuits? So you have band limited op-amp, you have comparator, okay, then you have timer, you have voltage controlled oscillator. If you go into logic, you have got this NAND gate, NOR gate, CMOS NOT gate, XOR gate, SR flip-flop, Schmitt trigger, and everything is available. So it's very easy Now to do a real time, not real time, but you can do a simulation for this, and this can be also converted into a real time also. Okay, how do you do the coding in this? So you just drag a new model. Okay, I will show you quickly. You will drag a new model. You get an empty, and let's say you want to use this CMOS AND. So you just copy it and you drag it here. It's that easy. Okay, so where is it? So you drag, yes, you see it has come here. So this is what it is. So you have got this CMOS AND which has come here. Now you double click on this, it will give you the parameters for that. Double click on this, it will give you the parameters for this. So it will ask you, this block implements a simplified model of a CMOS AND logic gate. Set the input low, input high, input output low, blah blah blah, and all those things. Okay, so inputs, low level input voltage 2 volts, high level input voltage 3. So 0 1, which is your 0, which is your 1. Okay, outputs and initial conditions. So it is that easy. I want to connect it to some battery or something like that. There is something called as a sources, where I have got all types of sources available. Okay, if I go to electrical circuits, maybe I think I have got all those sources available here. Okay, so passive devices, sources, yeah. So sources, I have got a current source, I have got a DC to DC converter, I have got a generic battery, I have got a positive supply rail, solar cell, voltage source. So I copy this voltage source here and I put it here. And I can connect it here directly. So you can get it and you can connect it here, basically. So it is connected like this. And I will not complete this circuit, okay, because we don't have time. We can do it like this, and we can directly run it. And so we can directly run it and we can see the output. There is scope also available. In electronics, we have got CRO, oscilloscopes and everything. So if you go to the sinks here, you have, so in the sync module, we also have got, so this is the circuit that you see, okay, and in the Simulink library, like we have oscilloscopes in the laboratory, okay, here there is a scope available. So this scope I have dragged here, I have dragged this scope from here to here, okay, and we can connect this scope to this, and we can go ahead with the simulation. Now I am going to show you two simulations. Okay. Is this RLC circuit visible, madam? Please confirm.
Sir, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Now I am going to show you a very simple simulation, and it's to understand basic things. So you have a DC source. How much is the value of the DC source? 100 volt. Okay. You have got an ideal switch which you can drag from those pallets that I have shown you, libraries. Okay. And you are going to close this switch at T is equal to 0.02. So the switch is initially open. Okay. And we are going to close the switch at T equal to 0.02. The simulation is run till 0.08 seconds. Okay. Now you have a simple series RLC circuit, second order circuit with two memory elements L and C. Okay. Series RLC circuit is available here. Okay. And now I am going to execute this. What is the value of R? R is 2 ohms. You can see this 2 ohms here. L is 7 millihenry. Okay, and capacitor is 100 microfarad. 100 E minus 6. So it is 100 microfarad. And I want to see how the voltage across the capacitor changes. First, let's understand the physics. The moment I close the switch at t equal to 0.2, okay, the battery will try to push its current, okay, through this series RLC branch. But since this L is there, L opposes sudden change in current, okay, so it will not allow the current to increase instantaneously, okay. This capacitor will start charging, okay, and finally the capacitor will reach to, the capacitor voltage will reach to some, okay. This is a simple series RLC circuit, okay, and we want to see it. Now here you can see I have connected a voltmeter which is in parallel to this C, and this I am also measuring the inductor current. So here I am measuring, maybe somewhere I am measuring, yeah, branch current. So I am measuring the branch current here. So this series current and this voltage and these two seen here, and the voltage will be seen here. And now I am going to execute this file. Okay. So you can see here you can see compiling and the file is being executed. Okay, it's done. Now let us first see the voltage. Let us first see the voltage. This is how my voltage changes. Up to t equal to 0.02, since the switch was open, nothing happened. Nothing happened. Voltage started increasing, and since it's a second order system, okay, there are oscillations seen here, and ultimately you see that your capacitor is charged to a value of 100 volt. Your capacitor is charged to the value of 100 volt, and since it is charged to 100 volt, it is both the battery and the capacitor are at the same potential, so the current will stop flowing in this. Capacitor is show you how the branch current, how it has changed. Okay. You see, till 0 to 0.2 there was no current. Then the current also started showing an oscillatory behavior, okay, because capacitor charges, discharges and all that, and finally it becomes 0. The current becomes 0. Current in the circuit becomes totally 0. So now you can see these two plots, and you can see that this is your capacitor voltage, and this is your current. So voltage. Second order, in control systems terminology or systems engineering terminology, we call it as an underdamped system, oscillatory system. Okay, I hope. So see how easy it is. Now what is MATLAB or Simulink doing at the back end? At the back end, MATLAB or Simulink is just solving the second order differential equation. By Kirchhoff's voltage law, you get a second order differential equation here. MATLAB solves it numerically and gives you the answer. Let's reduce this R from 2 ohm to a very small value, 1e minus 6. Okay, let us reduce it to a very small value, 1e minus 6. What effect it's going to have? R is very small, R is negligible. It is an LC tank circuit, basically. Okay, right? It's an LC circuit, basically. So what is expected now? I'll just close those things. Okay, fine. Now let me run it. Okay. So what do you expect? Studied circuit theory or electrical networks? You will get sustained oscillations, isn't it? There will be oscillation. It has become an oscillator. So up to 0.02 there is nothing, and then you are getting oscillations. You are just getting the oscillations here. You can see these are the sustained oscillations which are coming here. Okay, same will happen with the current. So you can see you have got sustained oscillations here also. Okay, and we call such circuit as an undamped, because the oscillations are not getting damped. So it's an undamped circuit, basically. Now let's make R very large. Let's say instead of R 1e minus 6, I make it 1e6. Okay, and we try to run it. What do you expect? What do we expect? It would become an overdamped circuit, basically. So forget about these lines. So this is going on in very slow. Okay, the R is very large. It is an overdamped circuit, and it's increasing. The voltage will be increasing, and it will have something kind of an exponential increase, and it will. Okay, so very easy. Now I have constructed a very simple circuit for you, but you can construct even complicated circuits also, power electronic circuits. Even you can construct op-amp based circuits in simulation. Okay, next circuit that I'm going to show you is, instead of the AC source, now we have got instead of the DC source, we have got an AC source here. So you have got this AC source connected here. Okay. There will be some transient part and there will be some steady state part. So let us run this simulation quickly and let us see what we get. Okay, so simulation has, you can see this is what we are getting. So have a look at this. This initial up to 0.02 there is nothing. 0.02 there is nothing. Okay, but generally when we teach our students, we say that series RLC circuit, when excited by an AC source, you are going to have AC. I mean, it becomes an example of AC circuit, current appearing in the circuit, of course with a phase shift. Okay, right. But then we should also tell our students, and our students should also understand that there is a transient. This is the transient part. This is the transient part. Up to this point, there is a transient part. Okay. After that, it reaches to the steady state value. Up to that, it reaches to a steady state value. Same with the current. Okay. Same with the current. I can show you the current also. This is what the current is. Okay. Same with the current. So transient part. Okay. And then you can have the steady state part. Now in this circuit, okay, you can also give the initial current. You can also set the, so what if your inductor is initially energized, or what if your capacitor has got some initial voltage V0? So you can have current. So you can keep here some initial inductor current as 0.2 amperes. Okay, like this, and then you can run. So it's going to behave as it's going to behave like a current source. Okay, and the answer that we are going to get will be something like this. Okay, there is some initial inductor current present in this, and this is how it's going to behave basically. Okay, so this is also simple applications, but you can use Simulink for doing the modeling. Okay, since this webinar was for beginners, so we saw simple examples in all applications, not all applications, some of the or very few applications of MATLAB. Maybe there can be, I mean, each of these require, like if you want to study circuit simulation using Simulink, then it itself is a topic of 4 or 5 days STTP or short-term training program. I personally use this. We use this Simulink heavily, and because we have got network theory, analog circuits, digital circuits, and all those subjects. So to teach those subjects, we use Simulink, and there are other softwares, PSpice and all that. Okay, but then I personally found this software MATLAB very easy to use. Okay, so with this I conclude and I hand over to for this.
Thank you for the very resourceful webinar session, sir. Sir, one of our participants, Mr. Ranjit Kumar, has asked a question like this: how to create a table using MATLAB?
Table?
Yes, sir.
Which, I mean, a table required in a text document, I presume that. So I am not aware how to, because I have not created a table. But I mean, this question, I don't think there is any answer available, because you cannot create a table as such that you have to put. Yes, but there is a facility available that whatever expressions you develop using the symbolic toolbox, you can directly generate the LaTeX code for that. The LaTeX code can be generated. Table generation, I am not aware. Maybe I will also have to see. But MATLAB is not a typesetting software. MATLAB is a computational software. So it's not going to help us in generating tables. That is what I feel.
Thank you, sir. Then one Mr. Dilip has asked whether MATLAB can be used in the field of fluid dynamics, sir.
Of course, MATLAB can be used in fluid dynamics. MATLAB can be used in CFD, computational fluid dynamics, and you have got lot of toolboxes available in MATLAB basically to solve it. It can be used. It can be used, absolutely. The only point is one has to explore the MATLAB from his or her domain of expertise. I mean, we all remember that story of an elephant which is being, I mean, 6 or 7 blind people are brought near an elephant. Then someone touches its tail and says that elephant is like a rope. Someone touches its legs and says that elephant is like a pillar, like that. So this is how MATLAB is, I would say. Like I mean, my area of working is control systems, electrical engineering, mathematical modeling, and all that. So I have explored signal processing, image processing. So I have explored it from that point of view. But of course, I would say it is absolutely possible to use it for CFD.
Yes, sir. Then Ms. Ashwini has asked, what is the use of pretty command, sir?
Pretty command. So as the word says, pretty means in a good format. Okay. So when we solve those symbolic operations, that means when we found out derivatives and integrals and we found out limits, okay, MATLAB gave us the answer in analytical terms, in symbolic terms, okay, but the answers were not easily readable. There was a problem in reading that. Can we express those answers in the way we write it? Okay, so for that the pretty command is used. If you just write help pretty, then we can show that help pretty, we can use it for that. It's just a way of displaying the answer.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Then, sir, Mr. Pankaj Pushari has asked like this, sir. What are all the new toolboxes that have been added in the latest MATLAB version, sir?
Now that's a very good question, I would say. As I said, MATLAB releases 2 versions in a year. Okay, release A and release B. So 2020 RA, release A has already come in the market, and RB will come in sometimes in the month of November or December. So they are coming up with so many new toolboxes. So to tell you, let me share the screen quickly and I will show you what are the toolboxes which are available and what what new can come basically. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So so let me go to the okay. So here, if you see the where is that apps? Yes. If you see these apps, okay, these are the different right now available. I don't know whether it is visible on YouTube or not. Curve fitting, optimization, PID tuner, system identification, signal analysis, image acquisition, instrumentation control, sim biology, MATLAB coder, which is used for downloading, generating MEX code. Okay. Then you have got classification, curve fitting, neural network related optimization, PDEs. Okay, so there are even toolboxes available for economics. So I can scroll down and you will see. Okay, image processing and computer vision. So you have got camera calibrator, color thresholder. So you just name it and it is available. Computational finance available. Code verification. Okay. Okay, so database. Right, even now latest versions have got this GPU, parallel processing units. Okay, so even parallel computing and all those toolboxes are available. I would advise the viewer or the participant to just go to the MathWorks website and have a look at that. This is what I am showing is 2015, 5 years ago. Okay, so lot of new toolboxes have been added. Machine learning, AI, HIL, hardware in loop, and everything is available.
Yes, sir. One Mr. Sridhar and Abhi Ilambo has combinedly asked one question, sir. That is whether we can analyze all the electrical, electronics, and communication circuitries by using MATLAB toolbox, or is there any limitation found? In the way they have asked.
No. To the best of my knowledge, I have been exploring not the communication but electrical and electronic circuits. I have been myself exploring for, I would say, and I have found it very good and very comfortable. All types of electrical circuits. I mean, I would range it from power electronic circuits to electrical machines to microcontrollers to op-amps. Okay, and I have used this variety of. I can assure you that with my colleagues who are working in communication domain, they have been using MATLAB communication toolbox, and they are very happy with that. I mean, you can compare it with the NS2 and all those other types of communication. It is really helpful in them, for them. They can use it, I would say. So as such, there is no problem. There is no restriction. We can use it. Now they have got even PV cell model and people which who have done a complete simulation of complete microgrids and other things on Simulink. Okay, so it is possible. It is possible.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Over to Father John Wilson, sir.
Dear resource person and my dear participants, here comes Dr. Johnson, the HOD of our department, to say a few words about today's webinar. Over to sir.
It's a great say a few words of appreciation. So right from the beginning, he explained the basic concepts of MATLAB and also the real applications of MATLAB. The various types of questions asked by the participants. So we are very proud of such a resource person to have for a wonderful lecture and also a kind of tutorial workshop so that to use the real application by using the sir. Thank you, sir. It's a great pleasure for us, sir. So, the participants could have been benefited because of this extent. They can give the feedback either sooner or later to the organizers. I thank you. I leave it to Father Wilson for the formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Respected Father Principal, our most valued invited resource person, Dr. Vishwesh, dear student friends who are connected with us through online. It is my privilege to propose vote of thanks on this national level webinar on MATLAB for beginners. Express a deep sense of gratitude to God Almighty, who is guarding us as chicken protects its chicks under its arms. I express thanks from the bottom of my heart to Father Principal, who is shepherding Young Heritage College, for his encouragement and constant support, and who has ignited us to organize such a webinar for the growth of faculty members and student community during this pandemic situation. A big thanks to our resource person, Professor Vishwesh. Facts from the participants. Sir, your workshop session, clear presentation for us, fantastic explanation. It is very useful for my research career. Sir, you are an inspiring teacher. One of our staff members attended STTP and she listened to you while we were name was suggested. When we approached you over the phone, you readily accepted our invitation to be with us. Even today, you have traveled 45 minutes. So you have inspired us and you have enlightened the participants with your rich knowledge. So on behalf of the management and on behalf of the participants, to you, sir. Thank you very much. I would like to congratulate and we are grateful to Dr. Johnson, our HOD, for his accompaniment in organizing the webinar. I also wish to express our gratitude to Dr. course coordinator and the technical team leader of our college for his commitment and technical expertise. I wish to thank all the participants for your active participation. You has motivated us to organize such a webinar for the well-being of the student community, who worked tirelessly to organize this webinar. Thanks to my companion. Finally, let us reach our student community. Sir, thank you very much for your inspiration. We have learned a lot from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I would like to express my thanks for inviting me to deliver this webinar. I was with which the organizers had planned this webinar, and I would also like to express we can go ahead with more such webinars, and we can enlighten our students and our faculty members on this. I would also like that from my side, because of that there was a discontinuity in learning process. Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam. And thank you, college management, for inviting me. Thanks a lot. Please stay safe. Thank you.
Dear
Thank you, sir.
participants,
Thank
sorry
you,
for
all the
the
participants.
Dear participants, sorry for the inconvenience caused due to some technical failures. In future, we will take care of it.
Thank you, all the participants. and e-certificate will reach you a few days later. Thank you all.